I've been looking at the schedule, and there's some stretches in here where I'm just like, oh my gosh. The final number that I had 11-6. But I'm willing, if you guys put up a compelling, this is the Optimism podcast, right? So if you guys like really convince me that there's a game in here that the Ravens could win and you give me a good enough reason, I'm willing to not be such a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, I said 12-4. We're getting Nate freaking through a new weekend on us. Like, I don't like that in any sense, first of all.
Oh yeah, well let's get into it. Let's go week 1 first. Las Vegas is a win because Vegas is a
win first.
Yeah.
Win.
And then I've got. Can you convince me that we beat Kansas City at home?
I want to so bad. This will be the 4th time we play them.
It's not happening. I hate to say it, but it's not. That they are our kryptonite. What's
the Chad? Like, you seem like you want to say that they could. What would be the tipping point for this?
I'm going to say the tipping point would have been if we had J.K. Dobbins and Rashad Bateman playing. Yeah. But neither of them are going to be playing. So I don't think it's going to be a win, unfortunately.
All right. Well, you're doing a terrible job convincing me so far. Okay. I got one.
No, I mean, I wanted to do it, but I mean, we're the same because J.K. Dobbins and Rashad would have, helped us make our offense different than the last 4 times that we played them.
Right.
But without them, we're the same offense that they beat the last 4 times, or 3 times. So I mean, the proof's not. I mean, we haven't beaten them, so I got it. I mean, I'm not gonna. I like to be a realist, and even though I'm a huge Ravens lover and I want them to go 16-0 or 17-0 this year, it's not going to happen. So I think, unfortunately,
has have a bad game.
Yeah, and that's it.
Well, okay,
the best player in the league and the 2 best receivers, 2 of the top best receivers in the league with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce if you use him as a receiver. But I mean, he's a tight end, but he is a freaking receiver. So I mean, you got two of the top 10 receivers on one team with the best player in the entire game. It's a tough. I mean, obviously they lose. They lost. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year. They've lost before last year. It's tough, but the Ravens, unfortunately,
with our injuries and the lack of talk to me in
the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. We'll wait. We'll get them in the playoffs. How about that?
I will say this about Kansas City. I don't like their offensive line. It's the one thing where I don't know. And that was their big kryptonite last year. I think it's going to be good enough, and I obviously think Patrick Mahomes is good enough. But that team, I don't know. I don't want to say they take a step back this year, but Buffalo's in their rearview mirror, and we're in their rearview mirror, and everybody in the AFC has basically got a target on them. And I don't know if their offensive line is as good as it has been in years past. So that's all I'm going to say for Kansas City.
They grabbed Orlando Brown from us, so that's a step up, I'd say.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of changes on that line, though.
There are a lot of changes.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
We're 1-1 right now.
We're 1-1.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Then at Detroit, that's 2-1.
Also win.
2-1.
At Denver, 3-1. Yeah.
3-1.
Monday night, October 11th, home against Indianapolis. I got them winning that game. I have the Ravens winning that game. I don't know about Carson Wentz. I have no idea.
No, I don't. That's an issue for us. Yeah. The only thing that's an issue for us is whether or not their defense is going to hold us up, and I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, they got a good defense, but it's going to be a low scoring game, I believe. But it's good. We're going to just like last year's game against them.
Or it'll be like 20-17 or something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a low scoring game.
We may or may not have Bateman back by then and Boykin, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that might be the first game we have Bateman back,
which would be great. We can, and a good opponent for him to go up against too. Next week is Los Angeles, the Chargers. We're home. Yeah,
lockdown.
Win.
I want to say it's a win.
Sorry, Justin.
I think we're 5-1 at that point,
which is wild.
Yeah, sorry, Justin.
And then we're home against Cincinnati. That's a win. So we're 7-1 going into a bye week.
6-1, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Six.
6, 7. Yeah, 6-1 going to the bye. Thank you. Yeah.
So, yep, 6-1 going into the bye week. I can see that I think that's very possible.
All right, so we get the bye.
Bengals didn't get any better, so I mean, divisional game, but I'm still not worried.
Yeah.
Vikings could give us a run.
Well, let's talk about that real quick because they're coming off a bye week that week, so
we rarely lose.
I don't know. It's a home game, and the thing about the Ravens is if a team has not played you before in the post Lamar Jackson era that you're in, all the players that play him, if you don't play him very often and you get on the field with him the first time, defensive players have said like. You see him on television, but you don't realize, like when you're on the field with him, it's a whole nother perception of speed for these guys.
100%. Well, the same thing from the stands. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, the guy is just flying all over the place, and like I think Minnesota struggles with that on defense, and I don't know.
And we're coming off a bye. We're coming off a bye.
Yeah,
we rarely lose coming off a bye. And we're playing a team this is the first time they're going to play against Lamar. It's a win.
All right.
So then that means we're 7-1. This is the game I have where you have to convince me they can win, and I think you can do it. But I'm gonna lay out my argument. I have a loss here. They're going on the road to Miami. They're doing it with 4 days rest. So they're playing November 7th, and then they got to play another football game on Thursday night, November 11th. At Miami.
Well, Miami's in the same boat. I'm sure they're playing Sunday as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're home. So that's a big plus. I mean, we're 7-1 at this point, and I can see a little slump. And Miami's defense is good. And I really think their offense is going to be, I think Tua in his second year, they got Jalen Waddle, who I'm really high on. They got Will Fuller, who's a beast when he's not suspended.
Yeah.
I think Miami is going to be a really good team this year.
And I don't really necessarily think that the Ravens are worse than Miami, right? Like I'm not saying that. No. I'm just saying at some point you're gonna have 4 days of rest, and if we're saying they go 7-1, you're gonna drop a game at some point. And I just feel like this is the game where, we take a loss and it's like, all right, well, 4 days of rest. Who knows what our guys are going to look like coming out of the bye week? I don't know. I know they have the game with Minnesota in between, but who knows what injuries are going to look like? And I don't know. It just seems like a game that the conditions are right. We're not at home. We're playing a team that's got a really good defense. The quarterback is a question mark. We don't know whether he's good or bad. I could see them losing that game, and then they're 7-2.
I mean, I can if my hunches are correct, and I think Tua and them are going to be a really good offense, I can see it happening. But if their offense isn't as good as I think they could be, I think it's an easy win. But I'm willing to say that's a loss. Just for the sake of argument.
Let's tentatively say that's 7-2. Right, because that is a game that you could convince me to swing one way or the other. But let's just say worst case scenario, 7-2.
It really depends, and for me, it really depends on how Miami's offense is looking and how Tua is looking. If they're looking hot, I think there's an opportunity for a loss there. But yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with saying 7-2 right now.
Brad, can you convince me?
I was already at 6-2 with the Vikings, so I think we're going to beat the Dolphins. So I'm still at 7-2, but just with a different loss.
Gotcha. So you flip flop.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool with that too. All right. So then the next game we got 10 days of rest, and then we go and play at Chicago. That's a win.
Yeah, no issue.
That team, I don't know. And Justin Fields, I don't think is going to be ready to. I don't know. He's raw in a lot of ways. I don't trust the quarterback yet. He's got a lot of promise. I'm gonna say that. I'm not like dogging on the guy. I just don't think they win this game against the Ravens. I think it's just a better team. So we're at 8-2. Any thoughts on that one?
No,
I'm with you. I think it's a win.
This is where so then the next game is brutal. This is where the stretch gets like absolutely insane. There's a late Sunday night game against the Cleveland Browns. I guess they're trying to make it a rematch from last year. right? It's going to be two of the two best teams in the division, although we can probably debate that with Pittsburgh. Who knows? But we're home. We're home. It's a primetime game. Fans are going to be in the stands.
Yep. Hopefully. Yep.
So, but that Cleveland team.
I'm splitting. One loss, one win for Cleveland.
Yeah, me too. So, and I think it's going to be the home game and the away game.
I'm going to say we win the home game, we lose the away game.
Okay. And that's not an indictment on anybody. I just think that's just how that's going to go. Okay, so we're 9-2, right? Then
let's say we win that one. Yep. Yeah. 9-2.
So then we're at Pittsburgh.
When?
2:25 p.m. So it's a Sunday afternoon game, December 5th. We're at Heinz Field in the cold.
I think it's a win.
It's a win. I'm not even stressed when the Steelers are here. It's crazy to say I'm more worried about the Browns than the Steelers.
I know.
And it was the same thing last week.
I know. It's good for Cleveland. They've been in the basement.
Yeah, absolutely. They're finally in the talks.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I think it's a win. I think we're 10-2. We beat Steelers.
So, okay. So I'm willing to admit that this is a win too, and I'll tell you why. Ben Roethlisberger has a noodle arm. Hot take. Ben Roethlisberger has noodle arm. I thought that towards the end of that season last year, he did not look good. He was heaving the ball all over the place. I just don't know if Ben Roethlisberger is the same quarterback as Tom Brady, who eats, this really strict diet, and he does these very specific things for his body for the longevity purposes of it. I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger does the same thing, and I don't know what they look like week 13. Is his arm going to be shot at that point? I don't know. It's a late season game, and I think Pittsburgh's on the decline, if I'm being honest.
I agree. I think Ben did a lot. He dropped some weight. I think he's kind of, from what I heard, is that he's changed his diet and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's too late, man. He's taken a beating in his career.
Yeah.
Probably more than any other quarterback.
Yeah.
I can think of.
Maybe Cam Newton is more.
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that too.
That's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a different. Yeah, totally.
I think just like last year, they started out hot and then they're going to decline. And I think by the time we meet them, they're going to be on their decline. So,
okay.
I think it's a win.
Nice. See, Optimism podcast. So that means we're sitting at, what are we
10-2.
10-2. Okay. Then we go at Cleveland. We all pretty much think this is going to be a loss, right?
Yep, we're gonna give them one of the games.
Yeah, they're definitely going to lose.
All right, and then we're home against Green Bay, and this is the end of the tough stretch. So,
this is an L.
Okay, it's an L. Could you convince me that we could win the game?
I could.
Offensively, that's it.
Convince me.
Yeah, I think our offense. Packers' defense is not all that great. They have a great pass rush, but other than that, I think it's going to be. I think the whole NFC North that we're playing against is going to be in trouble with facing Lamar for the first time. And this is another example of a defense facing Lamar for the first time. Well, that's not true. They did play us in a preseason game, the beginning of his MVP career. So I'm sure some of those players remember playing against him because some of their ones were playing, but that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. They have the best quarterback, best wide receiver with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They got great running back, Aaron Jones. Mm-hmm. So it's a big challenge for our defense, but I wonder if it's a bigger challenge for their defense against us, which is the difference maker. And then you have JT, which is always a great tiebreaker.
And it's also one of those games where, if one of the teams, you know how there are some games where, a team fumbles and it's not necessarily the other team recovers. It's not necessarily the end of the world. I think it's the end of the world. In this game, I think if either team fumbles the ball and they eat early or late, I don't really care when the fumble occurs. I think it's just the way that game is going to go. maybe you have like a shootout scenario and that fumble ends up being the thing that ends up costing you the entire game on either side. I mean, because Chad, there is something to be said about Green Bay's defense, the secondary. You know, I don't know if it's all that great, but Aaron Rodgers is amazing at the same time. Like, I just don't know. At least we're not playing him in Lambeau. Like, if we were playing him in Lambeau, I'd be like, no fucking way. Like, let's just get the fuck out of here. But at home, and if they have a huge game on offense, I just don't know if Green Bay's offense looks so polished, man. There's really just Aaron Rodgers is so good at going through his reads. If he doesn't like the first guy, he finds the second guy, the third guy within 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just he's gonna throw a ball that gets him open. So I got the game. I got that as a loss, but I mean, you make a good point. Like, it all depends on how Lamar, and they haven't played Lamar before for real. I mean, there's something to be said for playing in the preseason, but by week 15, we're going to have all the crazy shit out. Both teams are going to be making a playoff push. One team's probably going to be more comfortable than the other in Green Bay because Jared Goff and Justin Fields, Andy Dalton first and then Justin Fields, right? Those are the quarterbacks you're going to be going up against in that division, really. And then Kirk Cousins, who I've never been sold on. So those two teams are going to be in the middle of a playoff push. It's a big game. I got the Ravens losing it, though, at home.
Yeah. It's a push for me. It could go either way.
Yeah. I
can't. Yeah, if you guys are both say L, let's just keep it an L.
You do whatever you feel. Like, whatever. If you feel, and because you make a good point, that defense, I don't know about with Green Bay.
Yeah, we're home.
Fans in the stands at home in the middle of December in the middle of a playoff push. We know what that
we're
looks
home
like.
and their defense playing Lamar for the first time. I think that's a big advantage. So, but yeah, I'm going to say W. I'm going to go ahead and say it. We win that game.
All right, so we're at.
I'm doing it.
Let's say so 10-3 then, and then Chad, you're at 11-2.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. So
no. That'll be 10-4 for you guys, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. 10-4. Thank you. Okay, so the next game
I'm 11-3.
You're 11-3, and Brad and I were 10-4. Pretty good, by the way. 10 games. If you're betting the Ravens over under this year, Vegas has it set at 10.5. So, and we still got 3 games to go. So here we go.
Yep.
The day after Christmas, they're at Cincinnati. It's a win, right? They're going to sweep them this year.
Cincinnati, dude, they're gonna have to fire everybody again.
I mean, yeah.
Cincinnati is a dumpster fire, man. I knew, like, when they picked Jamar Chase over whatever offensive lineman was there at the 6. When your quarterback is coming off an ACL injury, your offensive line is horrible. You pass up getting one of the best offensive line just to get Jamar Chase, who hasn't played for a year. I think that showed their colors. I think that's a rookie mistake. That they're not a great organization, and they're not going to be good this year.
And the justification for the pick was weird. They were saying, "Oh, well, they're so used to playing with each other in college, like they're going to be an amazing tandem." And it's like, how do you know that? How do you know that the scheme that the offensive coordinator comes up with, like, you can only predict, if you're a wide receiver quarterback relationship, you can only predict so much, but all it takes is you forgetting the wrong route or you being off the same page on a play. I don't know. I think the justification for the pick was super weird. Like, oh, well, it worked in college, so it must work in the NFL. And it's like, you don't really know that, do you?
Yeah. I think it was a horrible pick.
I think it was a horrible pick myself, and I hate it. I'd like to see, as a fan, I'd like to see Joe Burrow come back and be awesome, but yeah, I mean, he needs protection, obviously.
Yeah, so that's a loss.
Only running back.
That's a loss for Cincinnati. That's a win for us. I just you can't convince me not to. All right, so 11-4 and 12-3.
12-3. Yeah.
Okay, this is the game that I have literally no idea what is going to happen in this game. I think it's a win.
Yeah. It is a win, but it's going to be, to me, it's going to be a huge game because Stafford's going to be slinging the ball all all season, bro.
Yeah, I know. I love Matt Stafford. I've always liked Matt Stafford.
And that literally just put him into playoff. They are a playoff team just from him getting on that team this year.
Chad, what do you think?
I'm going to say loss. And this is because I think at this point, with Ravens being 12-4, I think they are more solidified in the AFC playoff race versus the Rams, who I think have, that division they're in.
A dogfight.
They're gonna be fighting between San Francisco, Seattle, and Cardinals for playoff positioning. And I think the Rams are going to be, at this point, at week 17, I think the Rams are going to be in a position where they have to win out, and they're just going to want it more. And, need it. I'm going to say need it more, not want it more, but need it more. So I think this is a potential loss because I think the Ravens are going to be pretty set in a playoff run. They might not, they might not need it as much as the Rams do.
Plus, and another thing too, this is a revenge game for the Rams. Everybody after they got waxed by Lamar Jackson for 5 touchdowns, you think they're going to have the same performance? Especially, they would want to really embarrass us at home. I could easily see that. That's why I look at that game and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like with Matt Stafford too. Matt Stafford has been slinging it in Detroit for the better part of a decade. Never complained. Never, he had Calvin Johnson at one point, and then the franchise screwed him over, and he got out of there. So Matt Stafford for like basically a decade. What is with the talent that he's had around him and the defense he's had around him? I'm excited for him to go to LA to be on like a real team. And it's like, it's weird because we're going to be playing Jared Goff week 3 and then Matt Stafford week 17. So we're kind of going to get to see like how this trade really played out. But I could see that as a loss. I don't know, man. That is and it's an afternoon game on Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah, I would if it was earlier in the year, I would say it's a win, especially because it's at home. But like I said, because of where the teams will be at week 17, I think, like I said, Rams are going to be fighting for a playoff position, whereas I think the Ravens are going to be pretty set in their playoff position. So I think the Rams are going to want it more, and they're going to pull it out.
You remember when I said it was an optimism podcast? Yeah, it's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to convince me they were going to win games, not lose them.
Well, now I'm tied with you guys.
Yeah, that's right. So it's 13-3, right? Going into the last, it's 12-4. Excuse me, going into the last
12-4. Yep.
Yeah,
I think we're all 12-4 now.
Home against Pittsburgh.
That's a win. So I'm going 13-4.
13-4. Wow. Yeah. So if you're betting in Vegas and you want to do, your over/under is set at 10.5. There is a scenario here where the Ravens go 10-7, but I just think it would take a lot. I don't know. Like the beginning of their schedule is so favorable, and even the back half. The reason that the back half of their schedule is so rough is because 3 of those games are divisional games. But if you want to play devil's advocate with that, the Ravens would play harder in those games, right? Depending on where they're at. The initial time that I did this, I had them at 10-7, and I was like, I'm being like way too pessimistic. Like they're gonna win some. They're better than that. Like it's not the Ravens. We are critiquing, and the news critiques a team that went 13-3 or 14-2 one season, and 11-5 in the next, and they're saying they're not doing things right, and it's like, all right, well, we're still in double-digit territory. If we're saying 13-4, you're betting the over big time.
Oh, big time, yeah. But, and if I'm being
12-4 last year, we didn't get COVID. You could say it with any team, but COVID hit us. We didn't have Lamar Jackson, and then we went and had a pick 6 on the first play from RG3 against the Steelers. We could have been had a better record. The record doesn't really, as long as you get in the playoffs, the record is 0-0. So see, as long as we get to the playoffs, 0-0, and we'll just have to win out in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm locking in my 13-4.
Absolutely.
And if I want to be, The only two games that I could see being losses that I have as wins is Packers and one of the Steelers games.
Yeah.
So at worst, I think we're 11-6. But
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, I think you can bet. I would bet the over either way.
Big time. Yeah, me too. All right. Well, that does it for any other things on the schedule. I mean, some of these matchups are, we kind of already broke them down. We got a lot of primetime games again this year. We're going to keep getting them. Just deal with it, NFL, because, we got Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, right? So get over it.
Must watch TV, baby. Must watch TV.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Okay, so this has been really wonderful. Brad, Chad, have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. And
yes, sir.
You as well.
Labor Day weekend.
Go Ravens.
Go Ravens.
Talk to you later, boys.